20-ton trucks. The design of these bridges was so rugged and successful that many bridges put in place after the post-Normandy landings 60 years ago are still in place. But we don't really need to go that far to see a Bailey Bridge. Here we're looking at a Bailey Bridge which spans the River Don near Eastwood, only 2 minutes walk from Rotherham's retail world. This bridge was originally erected in 1947 by the Works Department of Rotherham Corporation. However, it stood the test of time, and up to 1991 it had done very well for the local people crossing the river to get to Rotherham Steelworks in earlier times. However, it was decided to refurbish the bridge in 1991, and a Sheffield volunteer company of the Royal Engineers was asked to come along and refurbish the bridge, which they did, but as we can see here, in the most atrocious weather. I will endeavour to explain to you precisely what goes on here, but it won't be very easy, because what we see here is not the normal practice for the operational use of Bailey Bridge structures. For instance, in World War II action, a bridge would be launched across a river to afford a crossing to men and vehicles, and maybe left there for some time or dismantled shortly afterwards. What we're looking at here is a bridge that is being refurbished. In order to achieve this, the bridge has to be dismantled and removed taken away for anti-corrosive treatments and painting. But to dismantle it, it first has to be jacked up and placed on rollers. On the far side of the bridge, sections similar to the panels that you see here are added to the far side in bays, what they call bays, and slowly but surely the Rotherham Bridge will be fed towards this side by pushing it across on the rollers, and more sections, or bays as we see them, are added to the far side until finally we end up with a temporary Bailey Bridge spanning the river, and the whole of the Rotherham Bridge, having been drawn across to this side and dismantled, is placed on vehicles and carted away for anti-corrosive treatment. The chaps here, what we're looking at here, is some panels being added on this side so that they have some purchase on the system of rollers that are being placed on this side. You'll see what I mean as the work progresses. Here these chaps are carrying another set of panels, and you can see that they'll lift the section or lift the panel onto these rollers here and attach it to a panel, an additional panel that they've already fixed onto the old bridge. That's still in place. Remember, the bridge hasn't moved yet. These are additional sections being added on this side as well as the far side, so that we can get the whole thing sitting on the rollers. Here you see the pins going in, or a pin going in to fix the panel in place. It has panels are fixed in two places, top and bottom, and the holes are lined up. The pin will be driven in by a leather-faced mallet. Slowly until the panel pinholes line up here on the bottom, and in place there now. to keep the panels in place temporarily anyway, they need some of these cross beams fixed on so that the bays are rigid during the business of starting to roll the bridge over to this side. There you can see a set of rollers quite clearly, and this cross beam will go in and will be temporarily clamped in place, ready for the big push. We'll stop the commentary for a moment for you to listen to some of the words of command which are interesting, and I'll explain them to you afterward.
Wait for the gap! Big leg! Up! Keep going nice, steady! Keep an eye there, Ken. Stop! Stop!
The word stop needs no explanation, but you have probably heard the phrase away from the gap. That's one of two common phrases used when actually moving Bailey Bridge, is either towards the gap or away from the gap. The gap being the gully or river which the bridge spans. Okay, you saw that initial movement of the bridge. They've started to bring the Rotherham Bridge over onto this side, and they're adding temporary pieces on the far side. Here is a very good shot of them pushing they've now got the Rotherham Bridge, they're pulling it onto this side, and they've got lots of spare bridge sections on the far side still on rollers, allowing them to draw the Rotherham Bridge off the gap. And here we see them now actually dismantling the Rotherham Bridge and taking the sections and parts away for refurbishment. All the cross beams. And note there, it takes 8 men to lift a beam with any ease anyway, using short, very stout poles that slot through the holes in the beam. Part of the Rotherham Bridge will be seen to have reinforcements on both top and bottom beams, and consequently it's taking 12 men to carry that panel, whereas normally 6 men could do it. A couple of weeks have passed now, and here we see parts of the original Rotherham Bridge looking all bright and green after its refurbishment, being rolled back into place by adding the original Rotherham sections back onto this end of the bridge, pushing the temporary one off at the other side and slowly dismantling the panels on the other side, until finally we've got all of the original Rotherham Bridge looking all clean and green and bright once more back in place. And we'll just watch them now to see how they put the finishing touches to this bridge. These are the box sections now going across the cross girders, which we mentioned earlier. When these are all in place, The final act would be to place these huge wooden sleepers onto the bridge, which will be the actual base for any traffic, which in the case of this bridge in Rotherham is not. It is not a vehicle bridge. In fact, it is used as a pedestrian bridge for the people of well, particularly the eastward side, to gain access to retail world. These are the last few panels now being removed. We're actually on the retail world side of the bridge now, and we're seeing just the last of the temporary panels being removed on this side, and the Rotherham bridge, the refurbished Rotherham bridge, being finally moved into its You'll have heard a reference to there to spikes in and spikes out. That means that when the spikes are out, the bridge can actually move on the rollers. When the spikes are in, the bridge is locked, and you'll see what I mean in a moment, because we'll have a close-up shortly of a chap actually placing a spike in, which prevents the bridge from rolling. Here again we can see just the last few parts of the temporary bridge being removed on this side and taken away, which allows the original